Hi, my name is Rich Barlow, and today we're going to be looking at PowerMax. We're going to spend a lot of time in Unisphere for PowerMax to better understand how simple and easy it is to manage these arrays. Let's go ahead and log into our array, into Unisphere here. And you can immediately see that we can manage multiple arrays inside of this one interface. We have a VMAX 100K, we have a PowerMax 2000, we have a VMAX 1, we have a 250F, lots of different kinds of VMAXs and PowerMaxs inside of this interface. Each one of them at a glance, I can see its compliance with my specific request I've set up, my capacity, my health score, which means is it in compliance, my throughput for the box, IOPS, and efficiency, all at a glance for all these arrays. Now, before we dig into this PowerMax array, though, let's look at some of the larger features of Unisphere for PowerMax. First of all, I can look at a high-level performance report for everything running behind this Unisphere. So, for example, this is for all arrays. I can see the back-end requests and the front-end requests, our cache hit ratios, host megabytes per second, all in one glance. Now we can do this, and this is for every performance stat inside the system. We can do it for 4 hours, or we can do it for the last 12 hours, custom, or dig back in historical data. This is very useful if you're trying to solve a problem, figure out specifically which array is really busy. I can also, though, dig into a specific array and look at specific data for a specific host. For example, if this storage group called PaulMC is attached to a specific host, I can look at its data and see how busy it is, whether it's in compliance. Now, this one's all zeros. Let's find one that's not zeros. For example, here you go. Here is, I assume this is a virtual machine one, but it tells me it's pulling about 117.2 host IOs per second, about 0.2 megabytes per second. And because these green check marks are here, it means it's in compliance. So, for example, if I've set this at a service level, it is in compliance with that service level. Now, speaking of VMware, I can also go in here and see stats for specific ESX hosts. So once I register a vCenter, it'll pull the stats in. If I click on one of these, you can see which version of ESX it's running, how much memory it has, and whether it's in compliance. For example, this one, the storage group is in compliance, but my front end is not, which means I probably have some kind of fiber channel, maybe a fan-in issue, something like that, right? It also is smart and identifies databases. So PowerMax in itself, when you run a database on it, understands the workload pattern of a database and actually will do some pretty interesting things to accelerate that database. For example, let's look at this one right here. This is an Oracle database. So it tells me it's Oracle, tells me the version of the database, its size in gigs, and all the interesting data that it needs is being collected. I can look at which storage groups are attached to this, number of volumes, and precisely what does the performance look like for that database. And I get that all inside of Unisphere. Let's go back to home here. Now let's look at the specific PowerMax here. When we dig into it on its first page, we see we have lots of data on this page and lots of interesting stuff. We have system health, we have its storage group compliance, we have its capacity, and we have replication. And we'll dig into these in a moment, but let's look at this page first. First of all, it gives me capacity. It tells me my subscribed versus my usable capacity for an overall efficiency. And if you hover over this, it'll tell you where it's getting that number from. It tells you your capacity trend for this specific array. It also gives you interesting performance data, and if you hover over this, it'll tell you the exact data at that point in time, which is really interesting. You get host I/O, you get latency, and you get throughput. Let's dig into these particular checkboxes first, though. First of all, system health. So system health is the array's view of how obviously healthy it is. And what it is there's configuration data, whether it has enough capacity, whether its utilization is within standards, whether the storage groups are within service level compliance, and their storage group response time. All these things go together to give it a health score. And you notice this one's at 100% right now. If I go to compliance, What it helps me understand is, are my storage groups in compliance? The vast majority of this is something driven by something called a service level. And let's look at that now, just so we understand what this is. We'll come back to this. We have storage, we have service levels. So when I create a LUN, I assign it a service level, and that's going to determine its response time. And if you look at this, you can see that Diamond has an expected response time of 0.6 milliseconds, which is really freaking fast, right? All the way over to Bronze with an expected response time of 7.2. We also have Optimized. Optimized is a system kind of figuring out what it's going to do itself, right? It's saying, I have this much resources, I'm going to divide it up this way and give everybody a little piece of everything, right? Let's go back to where we were. So my storage group compliance, if I look at this, I'll see that I have one that's marginal. He's probably hitting the top ceiling of his storage group compliance level. And most of these are stable. Some have no status at all. I have capacity. And it tells you my subscribe capacity, my snapshot capacity, and my usable capacity, and how it does its efficiency calculations. And it's all right here, nothing hidden, telling you everything about your capacity utilization on the system. And last but not least, we have replication. So replication will actually give you its SRDF topology, which is kind of cool, and tell you how many things are protected with SnapVX versus unprotected, how many things are replicated with SRDF, how many things are unprotected, how many things using SRDF Metro. So very interesting. A lot of information you can get at a very high level very quickly from this interface. First of all, let's look at how easy it is to create a new storage device. We go to storage, we go to storage groups. And you look, and these are all the storage groups I have that are attached to something or not attached to something. Let's create a new one. First of all, we'll give it a name. We'll call this storage 1. And which storage resource pool is this going to come out of? We'll say SRP1. Next, let's select a service level. We talked about before. I have all the choices of different service levels here. I'm going to select Diamond. How many of these do I want to create? I can create multiple volumes if I wish. And what capacity do I want? Let's just do 100 gigabytes here. Okay, so one service level with a total capacity of 100 gigabytes. I'm going to leave compression turned on. Hit next. That's going to ask me which host or host group do I want to connect this to. Because of PowerPath, it already knows about all the hosts that are connected via PowerPath. And because of that, I can automatically just click one and connect it. Let's pick this guy. Next. The next thing it needs to understand is which fiber channel ports am I going to use to connect this to. Once again, because of PowerPath, it already knows which ports can see that particular host. Okay, next. And here's all my stuff, my review. Do I want to enable compliance alerts for this or set host IO limits? Run a suitability check to make sure everything is working. Instead, for now, I'm just going to say run, and it creates it. Very simple to do. You see it's doing its thing, and it's all done. Now, another common operation we have is to actually expand a LUN because, for example, there's not enough space. Now, for example, if we scroll down, we'll see this thing called VM data stores. Now, you would think that, the VMware folks wouldn't need more space because they've already got a lot of space. Let's give them some more. I click Modify. Right now, it's Platinum. There's 8 volumes, each with 256 gigabytes of capacity for a total of 2,048 gigabytes. Let's give them 9. So now what I've done is I've added a volume. You look at this now, and it's larger. Very simple, very easy, and very effective. Next, let's look at how easy it is to protect data with PowerMax inside of Unisphere. So we have this business internal application, and we've gotten a call, and the folks on the other end of the line said they're about to do an upgrade on this application, and they're wondering if we can do like a snapshot or something, as they always say, just in case something goes wrong, so they can put it back to where it was. So let's select it and click on Protect. And notice I have options. I can do a Snap VX snapshot. I can replicate it using SRDF. I can do HA using SRDF Metro, or I can do a backup using Protect Point. Now, apparently these people want a snapshot, so let's create a point in time snapshot. Click Next. Do I want a new snapshot? I say yes. So this is before upgrade. And I can do something called an expiration time. So I can say no expiration, which means it lives forever until I delete it. Or I can give it a time to live. It's wise to use times to live, to be honest with you. Otherwise, you'll forget them and they'll be there forever. It's holding blocks on your array. But in this time, we're just going to say none. Hit next. So snapshot name before upgrade. It's not going to expire. And this is not part of an SRDF relationship, so it's not going to do both sides. I can also set a schedule, by the way, and have this run on a regular basis. Let's run it now. It's chugging along. Gotta love simulators. There we go. It's all done. Now, we get a call from the folks who run build server, and they're wondering if we can add it to DR so it can be replicated. So we click on Protect again. And this time we're going to do remote replication using SRDF. Now, those of you who used SRDF before are going to be a little shocked at how simple this is. So I select remote replication using SRDF, hit Next. Okay, what array am I replicating it to? Leave it there. What kind of copy am I doing? Is it adaptive copy? Is it async or synchronous? I'm going to do asynchronous. Which SRDF group is it going to be part of? So basically, what part of, and I'm making quote fingers around, what consistency group is it part of? I'm going to leave it to automatic for here. Remote storage group names, we can create one called build server. And what is the remote service level? I'm going to leave all this as is and click next. And that's it. I've just set up an SRDF link and replicated a LUN. Incredibly simple, incredibly fast, and incredibly easy. Next, let's look at how you would troubleshoot a performance issue on a PowerMax with Unisphere. So let's go back to our dashboard. And remember on our dashboard, we had this storage group compliance button up here. And if I click on this, it told me that I had 17 stable, 43 with no status, which means they were not told to report their compliance. But I have one that's marginal. Let's see if we can figure out why this one particular storage group is marginal. If I click on it, shows me this is the specific storage group that's marginal. Let's actually look at some details about it. Apparently, it's an Oracle volume. Its service level set to Diamond, which is our highest response, our fastest response level. There's 2 volumes as part of the storage group. You're seeing about 4 terabytes of capacity. So it's got lots of information here, but I don't think it's really enough here to tell me what's going on. But it just tells me my compliance is definitely not good. But if I click on that, it tells me exactly why. If you look at this time here, and let's drill into it, you can see in this time, it got within, if you go right to the top of the chart, it'll tell you exactly what the numbers are. The diamond range is 0.5 milliseconds to 2.10 milliseconds. Now, most of the time it's going to be at 0.5, right? But it has an allowable burst amount it can burst up. Notice it actually hit 2.04. What happened is it was so close to that limit that it actually triggered a marginal error here. It told me that it was marginal. So that's what happened. I had a short amount of time where I got close enough to the line for it to tell me, as far as response time, for it to tell me that there was something wrong here. Obviously, we've barely scratched the surface of the capabilities of the PowerMax and this Unisphere application. If you'd like, we can come back and give you a much more in-depth, detailed demo with our MDC folks who specialize in this specific array. Um, Otherwise, we can hook you up with our demo center so that you can work with Unisphere yourself as well. Anyway, thank you very much, and looking forward to talking to you more about it.